So the thing is, I want you all to, all guys to have a bit open mind, and I also want you guys to I mean, not believing me 100%ly, even 10% for that matter. So just use on reasoning and mind how science works basically on ideas, different ideas. So I might be moving away from what you seem as a reality of yours in the matter of public health. So I'm going to start with my topic, epistemicide, technocracy, and scientism, which is a modern day public health nexus. Okay. So epistemicide basically refers to one group's knowledge imposition on another group, which leads to nearly total destruction of latter's epistemology or knowledge systems, which is referred as epistemicide by Portuguese sociologist Santos. And he argued that in the name of modern science, many alternative knowledges and sciences have been destroyed, and those social groups that use these systems to support their autonomous paths of development and human rights, they have been humiliated throughout the part of their resistance. Whereas technocracy basically means management of society by the technical expert, and it was coined by Smith in 1919 while the world was facing the Great Depression, just like right now, as we are facing a great reset. So, due to coronavirus, and the fans of technocracy basically claim that letting technical experts manage the country could be a great improvement. However, on the contrary, politician and financial institution were being held responsible for the economic disaster that happened in the 1930s. Whereas the scientism is the promotion of science, rather natural science, as the best or only objective means by which society should determine normative and epistemological values. However, on the extreme side, as defined by MIT physicist Ian Hutchinson, that science model on natural science is the only source of real knowledge. So bear with me throughout this presentation. I might take 5 minutes longer, but you'll get through it. So as we have seen that unemployment rose from 6.7% on 15 March to end of the lockdown nearly April and to 26%. And this is data which shows that 140 million people lost job as per the CMIE and ILO reports. And nearly 53% businesses were affected by this, leading to 30 millions of job losses in MSMEs. While on the contrary, big tech companies like Amazon, Flipkart, and Reliance clocked $1 billion in profit within India during the same period. And India's GDP shrinked nearly 24%, where sectoral data showed that construction was down by 50%, manufacturing by 39%, and mining by 23%. And it also, as per the latest report by Center for Science and Environmental Studies, it has been found out that it affected nearly 375 million children who suffered from poor health and educational losses. Whereas newborns to 14 years old are likely to suffer long lasting impacts in their life, ranging from underweight, stunting, and increased child mortality. While in the same period, India has recorded the least deaths per million, which was 112, as you can see, as compared to other big economies from US to Russia, from 1347 to 495 per million. While in the same period, Nigeria suffered only 9 deaths per million of their population, while being the seventh most populous country in the world. And despite having economic issues in their own country, while they put no lockdowns despite the pressure from European Union over its second wave issue. Whereas India set aside nearly $7 billion to vaccine our population, and despite nearly seeing 99% recovery rate with nearly 70% of mortality happening due to comorbidities. This is as per the ICMR report. As you can see, discharged people were 97.10%, active cases are nearly 1.5%, and deaths are nearly 1.4%. These are state data as per today, and you can see more than 70% cases highlighted down below by double star, that more than 70% cases happen due to comorbidities. Now moving on, Gates Foundation and public health. He is basically a man of great influence, and you can see throughout the media. From his TED Talks in 2015 until now, is it funding Gavi, WHO. He's the second biggest funder of WHO, CDC, and NIH, John Hopkins University, including Oxford University and BBC. You can find these reports on the Gates Foundation website as well. Now moving on. In 2009, Bill Gates, an unelected billionaire with no governmental office or diplomatic portfolio or without any medical credentials, kicked off his global vaccine enterprise with $10 billion in contribution, which secured him ironclad control over WHO until now. And as he created and funded Fox governmental agencies like PATH, Gavi, SEPI, and Brighton Collaboration to push vaccination in developing countries while investing a huge amount of money in PHFI India and Bharat Biotech as well, as per the records. I will suggest you to go look over geopolitical magazine, greatgameindia.com. You can find the proofs over there, or I could forward you the details later on. Gates also has giant stakes in Google, Apple, Amazon, Facebook, and Reliance, as all these companies began a censorship against anybody who posts against his vaccine agenda, citing it as vaccine misinformation. His foundation has also given away nearly $23.6 billion to companies like Merck, GlaxoSmithKline, Novartis, Sanofi, and Pfizer BioNTech. This is as per the childhealthdefense.org. Now, the Pfizer vaccination and its controversies. Just recently, the Bureau of Investigative Journalism posted out this leak report that Pfizer demand governments to gamble with state assets to secure their vaccine deal, and they held those governments on ransom with countries like Argentina and Brazil and some other Latin countries which cannot be named, as they have signed confidentiality agreement with Pfizer. Now moving on. Pfizer's controversy history is also that it has been fined as the largest illegal case, which was about 2.3 billion in dollars value. This lawsuit was filed against Pfizer due to its other subsidiary companies like Baxter and other. And Pfizer just recently said that every year you will have to get your annual shot for COVID throughout next 10 years or 20 years until we get it over with. Moving on to Oxford AstraZeneca, which is Covishield as per Indian naming of it. Switzerland completely banned the vaccine basically. They didn't approve it in their own country. They rejected it, and they said they couldn't approve it because it doesn't really have the efficacy and requirement in Switzerland. Moving on, as per the government of UK report on Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, these are the reaction and the total case and fatality rate out of the COVID vaccine they developed. From blood disorders to ear, eye disorders, gastrointestinal injuries, muscle tissue disorder, to skin and reproductive and respiratory issues, which amount nearly 1,14,000 with fatality of nearly 205. Moving on, France also opted out of their COVID-19 vaccination program, which was running on Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, because their hospital staff faces numerous side effects. And nearly, there was a report that in a hospital, about 46 healthcare workers and hospital staff just died just after 1 week or about 1.5 weeks of vaccination. And Oxford scientists also warned out that the vaccine rollout will trigger new COVID variants to come forward, and it will add a new layer of complexity to the pandemic fight, as per the Russia Today news report. You can search it online yourself. Moving on, false pandemic history. This is as per the Daily Mail report that swine flu outbreak was a false pandemic driven by drug companies that stood to make billions of pounds from a worldwide scare and fear mongering, said a leading health expert. And Wolfgang Wodardt, Health of Council of Europe, accused the makers of flu drugs and vaccine of influencing the WHO decision to declare a pandemic. This is the history with the pharma companies associated with Bill Gates and WHO history. Now, mask mandates and COVID-19. Just yesterday, Gagana talked about nanobiotechnology, and you must have heard of her. And let me tell you a bit about from my side. Coronavirus and influenza nearly equals 120 nanometer in size, with smallpox nearly 200 nanometer. Whereas the N95 mask, which is the best grade quality of a mask to get safe from pollution issues and some other issues, has been tested until 300 nanometer benchmark. Now, none of these studies reviewed showed a benefit from wearing a mask in either healthcare workers or community members in a household. Even N95 mask provides no protection against flu. These are the studies you can look for online as proof. Whereas Belgian authorities warn government distributed masks may contain toxic chemicals. Just recently, Russia Today reported this. And Sweden authorities put a ban on masks and said that wearing face mask could be very dangerous, not just to those who learn new language, facial expression from their seniors or parents, but also to those who are normally living a life and moving on for like wearing the mask for 6 hours or more than 10 hours, leading to condition like hypoxia and hypocapnia, which is like inhaling the carbon dioxide which we release into the environment. Then moving forward, surgical masks are not efficient at preventing release of very small particles, said the Maryland Institute Applied Environmental Health Report 2013. Moving on. This is how the virologist who test and work on viruses in Winnipeg, you can see in Wuhan, how they save themselves from the virus. Do you really think that such a mask which we use these days could possibly save us from COVID infection? You can answer me later in the chat box. And these are the reports coming on from outside India that Washington DC mask mandate exempt lawmakers and governments employees from wearing mask. Wisconsin's governor exempt politician from mask order. And you might have seen a lot of Indian politician, going to a lot of rallies as well, a lot of programs as well. And recently, you might have also observed Amit Shah inaugurating the Motera Stadium without using the mask. Now moving on. This is on the right side, right down below. This is the use of mask by public report by Government of India, uh, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, which said that medical masks should not be used by healthy person who are not having any symptoms because it creates a false sense of security that can lead to neglecting other essential measures such as washing of hands. Whereas there is no scientific evidence to show health benefit of using mask for non-sick person in the community. In fact, erroneous use of mask or continuous use of disposable mask for longer than 6 hours or repeated use of same mask may actually increase risk of getting an infection and incurring an unnecessary cost. Moving on, lockdown and COVID-19. You already see how much havoc it created in our own country, from migration of migrant laborers, their deaths, and economy leading to nearly 24% negative in GDP. Just recently, the Hague Court has ruled that COVID-19 lockdown, which was imposed by Dutch government, had no legal basis, and they lifted the illegitimate measures uh, forced by the government. The appeals judges argued that they wanted to avoid what they called a yo-yo effect, referring to public confusion around whether the curfew was still in force or not. Moving on, Nuremberg Code. I'm going to talk about this, which happened just after the Nazi camps. It was settled by the World's Council of Medical Experts, and they said the first and foremost thing is to get a voluntary consent of the human subject, which means that person involved should have legal capacity to give consent, should be so situated as to be able to exercise free power of choice without the intervention of any element of force, fraud, deceit, duress, overreaching, or other ulterior form of constraint or coercion, and should have sufficient knowledge and comprehension of the elements of subject matter involved as to enable him. But you might have heard of the cases where Bhopal gas tragedy participants were not given the informed consent forms, and they were just given the vaccine for their own benefit, which Serum Institute of India has done through their Covishield vaccine trials. However, the Nuremberg Code also states that experiments should be so conducted as to avoid all unnecessary physical and mental suffering and injury as well. No experiment should be conducted where there is a priori reason to believe that death and disabling injury will occur, except perhaps in those experiments where experimental physicians also serve as subject. And everybody has the right to refuse as per the Universal Declaration on Bioethics and Human Rights. Okay, moving on. There is also risk of antibody dependent enhancement, as pointed out by International Journal of Clinical Practice, that COVID-19 vaccine designed to elicit neutralizing antibodies may sensitize vaccine recipients to more severe disease than if they were not vaccinated. And it was done by Tulane School of Medical and Public Health as well as New York University. However, these are the mandates of Delhi government. Despite the fact that Union Health Ministry says that COVID-19 vaccination is voluntary, Delhi government issued order to make it mandatory for healthcare workers and the people associated with health and hospitals in the vicinity of Delhi. Now, this is the chart of Biodemas, a famous professor of psychology in US, and he pointed out the chart of coercion after studying the Chinese, how they torture the force US force officer when they abducted them. They isolate them, deprives victim of all social support. They fix attention upon immediate predicament and make resistance more costly than compliance. They also lead to weakened mental and physical ability to resist by exhaustion. They threat while creating anxiety and despair. And on occasionally, they positively motivate for compliance, hindering adjustment for deprivation. Just like you might have observed throughout the lockdown period, developing the habit of compliance through advertisement, through suggestion that it will benefit you, that it will help you, despite the fact that the people are dying and mainstream media isn't showing a single piece of death due to this vaccine. There are always a meeting to say that they will take care of this and will decide whether it was due to vaccine or not. However, hydroxychloroquine has been found out to be very sufficient and COVID-19 case resolving drug. As Dr. Raoult and Dr. Vladimir Zelenko, a physician from US, mentioned that nearly 500 patients has recovered from this drug. All he did is repurposing the old available drug, which we know that they have a safety profile, and using them in a unique combination. Okay, leading to very few deaths of about 5 people with Dr. Raoult patients. Now moving on, sero survey report and herd immunity. Herd immunity as per WHO definition, earlier definition, not the modified one, just before like 2009 pandemic they created, is the indirect protection from infectious disease that happens when a population is immune either through vaccination or immunity developed through previous infection directly happened to them. And Sero survey report, which come out for Delhi just recently, fifth Sero survey report said 56% people have antibodies against COVID-19, which means all have developed people a herd immunity within Delhi itself, despite the fact that they don't have any vaccination before that. And only herd immunity to develop, we need 50 to 60% of the population to develop antibodies. Whereas in Mumbai, 75% of the people tested for COVID-19 antibodies, and in Karnataka, for first Sero survey report which came out in August 2020, it was found out that nearly 46% have COVID-19 antibodies. But as per the recent report from Healthline coming on, you can still spread and still develop COVID-19 after getting a vaccine, which you might came across a lot of cases that despite having tackling this issue after vaccination, a lot of people developed COVID-19 and they died. Now, coming to focused protection and Great Barrington Declaration, which I mentioned in my abstract presented to TBS before. The declaration was done in October 2020 at Great Barrington, Massachusetts, US. and it was written from global public health and humanitarian perspective, with special concerns about how the current COVID-19 strategies are forcing our children, the working class, and poor to carry the heaviest burden. The response to the pandemic in many countries around the world focused on lockdowns, contact tracing, and isolation, imposes enormous unnecessary health cost on people. In the long run, it will lead to higher COVID and non-COVID mortality than the focused protection plan we call for in the declaration. And nearly 14,000 medical and public health scientists signed this declaration along with 41,500 medical practitioners. You can search for it on Google through Great Barrington Declaration. You will find it. And it advocates for focused protection as a middle ground between strict lockdowns and let it rip strategy, as they argued that older people are more vulnerable to COVID-19 and that should be met with overwhelming resources aimed at protecting them wherever they are, whether in nursing home or at their home, in the workplace or in a multi-generational home. Despite the the fact that we have seen throughout the time period, and 70% of the deaths have been due to comorbidities. Okay, whereas for the non-vulnerable who face far greater harm from lockdowns than they do from COVID-19 infection risk, the lockdowns should be lifted, and for those who decide, normal life should be resumed. Thank you very much. This is my contact, and you can reach out to me with requirement of proofs and arguments, any question you might have later on. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Ashwini. It was a
Yeah.
talk that made us think and raises questions more than answers.
Yeah, I definitely thought of that already. So yeah, come forward with your question. I'm happy to answer.
So, members, do you have any questions? Feel free to unmute and ask.
And trust me, I'm not against vaccination as well. Okay, don't take me as an anti-vaxxer or a conspiracy theorist. I've given you proof, and I can give you later on. And you might have also observed through farmer protests, there hasn't been a single death due to COVID-19, despite the fact that our elders are participating mostly in these protests.
Yes, that has been pointed out and raises a lot of questions.
Yep.
So, does anyone have any questions in particular? I think I would ask how to, judge the validity of a source.
Validity of the source is on your own reasoning and your own reality. Okay, because just like I showed you, the BBC have also been funded by Gates. Okay, so media, big tech, and pharma, they works together. Despite the fact that the protest has been going on from nearly 100 days, mainstream media doesn't give a reasonable time period for a debate for farmer protest, okay, on their platform. And as we know that Reliance also have stakes in most of the news channels in India, taking on from CNBC TV 18 to other platforms. So this is why alternate media like the Wire, the print, they all have pointed out a different story from the mainstream media. So all it depends. You need to find out the sources, just like the Great Barrington Declaration, which is signed by 14,000 public health experts. So these kind of declaration, and there has been Nobel Prize winners in this declaration as well. So you can question them, those scientists and those people who signed this declaration, that what should we can do and how we can move forward through such measures.
There's one question in the chat. Is media the only thing to be blamed for all this?
Not really, not just the media. Just like I told you, there's always has been a lobbying I mean, in the Western world. It just started recently in India. In the Western world, they own the media, billionaires basically. They own the pharma companies. So they write their own stories through politician, lobbying politician, and making their laws as well. And I can give you the history of public health in India. WHO used to fund Indian programs on sterilization, and India had a very bad history of forced sterilizations as well. Okay, so the thing is, WHO and World Bank used to fund our public health programs in the past, which led to structural adjustment programs, eventually leading to our opening of economy for globalization and liberalization, which happened through politician, government lobbying, and other ways of taking big tech and multinational corporation in mind.
So it is a huge nexus, like you mentioned.
Yeah, it's a huge nexus.
Mm.
That's why I mentioned the
Mm.
topic of epistemicide. Anybody having any story different from the mainstream media is a conspiracy theorist or is an anti-vaxxers today, despite the fact that the farmers are fighting for their own crops, their own livelihood. They are also anti-government, or basically called as anti-national. You might have heard of it already.
Mm.
So that's the case.
Guess there are no more questions. So thank you once again.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for giving me the platform to speak.
Of course, because you used it to the full extent. Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah.